think the work's been evolving a lot over the past year. And the show at Alter Space was great for me because it was a pretty big group show. There was a lot of work in the show. And I think just being in that atmosphere gave me a kind of a license to step outside of whatever box I had found myself in. And I think that it brought forward a lot of momentum that has definitely carried through and been sort of the impetus for the work at City Limits. My work has sort of stemmed from what was kind of a 2 or 3 year exploration into this idea of trompe-l'oeil. And I think that the work has really taken a turn in a direction that's a little bit less one-to-one, where the relationship between the viewer and the experience of the work gets to be a little bit more multidimensional.
And as far as this like sculptural trompe-l'oeil that you've been working with, what motivates you to try to mimic the appearance and quality of materials using other materials, and how do you see the difference between more traditional artist materials versus tools and supplies you buy at Home Depot?
Kind of the first job I landed when I got out here was working as a faux finish painter. And I was on this one job in particular that sort of stands out, painting faux marble in this whole big foyer. The woman who owned the estate only showed up to the job site once while I was there, and she felt for some reason she felt the need to let me know that if she had wanted to, she could have afforded to have her whole place done in real marble, but that she chose faux marble because she was trying to mimic this Dutch colonial style from South Africa circa whatever year she wanted to sort of suit her fancy with. And I guess it was very in vogue at that time in these Dutch colonial estates to use faux finish. And I think I think something sparked in that conversation with her where I really got to experience firsthand the value of the forgery being worth more than the value of the original somehow, and that whatever paradox that embodied or whatever sort of thoughts that brought on for me it's definitely left a lasting impression. And I think that art has always kind of done that. Art has always been this sort of process of intervention with reality, or of mimicking reality, and there's a value system at play that I think is infinitely fascinating, and I think that it relates to the way that we interact with material and art objects in general every day.
And how do you see this, I guess, translation of trompe-l'oeil from something that's usually referred to in painting as opposed to something that applies to sculpture?
Well, I mean, when we experience trompe-l'oeil, we infer a dimensionality that isn't there. That's in the nature of trompe-l'oeil.
Right.
We infer a dimensionality that doesn't truly exist, whether it's an ornamental dimensionality or a semblance of three-dimensionality on a flat surface. I think trying to reduce the work to a place of gesture has become more and more prominent, more and more important for me in the studio. This kind of path away from a one-to-one relationship between illusion and representation. This isn't so much about a kind of a cause and effect or an aha moment for the viewer. That's really basic and simple. I think letting it be muddier and letting gesture permeate to the surface and kind of become the focal point has definitely been really important in the